What is going on, New York Giant fans? Welcome back to another Roster Bubble Series video. Hope you guys are doing well. Hit the like button, comment, and subscribe. Turn on post notifications so you know when a live stream pops or video drops. Appreciate y'all coming back. Share this out. Do all of the good stuff. Again, hope you guys are enjoying the content as of recent highlight videos and some of the training camp stuff we did. So we're doing another Roster Bubble Series video, and in these type of videos, we talk about a player that's on the cusp of being cut. We talk about their background, their competition, ways they could win a spot on the roster, ways they could lose a spot on the roster, and at the end, a prediction. And we only have 4 more of these to go. We got today's candidate. We got Jacob Saylors, Breon Borders, and Christian Holmes. So let's get into it. John Jiles is our guy today that we are doing. He's an undrafted free agent out of West Florida, so a smaller school, and he went to some smaller schools even beforehand. 6'3", 24 years old, 205 pounds. Going to his prior college history, let's see, 24 years old, as I mentioned. 2022, 2021, he was at Virginia Union, and then 2018, 2019, he was at Fort Scott Community College. So with West Florida this past year, he had 54 catches in 10 games for 1,081 yards, 13 touchdowns, and his longest reception was 77 yards. Now you go back to 2022 at Virginia Union, 40 catches, 627 yards, 9 touchdowns, had 2 100-yard receiving games. Then 2021, he didn't do anything because he wanted to focus on academics because his grades were really bad. And then freshman and sophomore year at Fort Scott Community College, 1,543 yards in 2 seasons, averaged 104.8 receiving yards per game with 943 yards on 58 catches, 6 touchdowns in 2019 as a freshman. 2018, 600 receiving yards, 37 catches, 6 touchdowns, averaged 31 yards per catch against Coffeyville, which, interesting, that's a real college name, with 3 receptions for 93 yards. And that's pretty much his college stuff, his college profile. Now, as far as what he's done in camp and what he's done in the preseason, actually, better yet, let's go into his positives and negatives. So positives, catch radius, long arms, and hand-eye coordination. And negatives is his route running, in and out of breaks. His bread and butter routes are stop routes and straight line routes. So pretty much a curl route, and let's see, what else can we think of here? Basic 9 route. That's his bread and butter right now, which is very much a small route tree. And I look at him as like a Kenny Galladay, kind of like a Asante as well. As he's a guy, he's a big guy, 50-50 ball, go-getter, but not a great route runner, not a strategic route runner, and not somebody with super blazing speed, because if he had super blazing speed, he'd be able to separate. But in camp, he didn't get too many receptions. It's not like he stood out, which kind of has been the thing with the Giants over the last few years. You've seen very little undrafted free agents stand out. And in the preseason game against the Lions, he had 1 target, and that was it. So that doesn't really spell well so far for Mr. John Jiles. Now, competition. Gunnar Olszewski, Isaiah McKenzie, Isaiah Hodgins, Miles Boykin, Dennis Houston, Allen Robinson, Bryce Ford-Wheaton, and Ayir Asante. I guess one of the saving graces is that he, meaning John Jiles, was not the only one in the preseason game who barely got any burn with the ball. I mean, look at the wide receiver core. Allen Robinson had 1 reception. Bryce Ford-Wheaton had 1 reception. Jalen Hyatt had a reception, but he's not even in the competition. Isaiah Hodgins had no receptions. Isaiah McKenzie had no receptions. So the rest of the wide receiver core barely got burned, which, again, was predicated on a few things. I guess they weren't getting open. Could be a bad thing. B, towards the second half of the game, nobody scored, and it was mainly just evaluate on the ground and pound, which I think the Giants did a very good job of. But John Jiles was seen a few practices on the kick return team, and he kind of had the yips, just like Ayir Asante, which, again, isn't great. Now, How can he win a spot on the roster? Health is one thing. I always mention health. Special teams usage. Returner, protector, blocker. I don't think he's going to be a returner. You could try that. I mean, maybe if his speed builds up, he could work with the new kickoff rule. I don't think it's that different in terms of the results, but this landing zone shit, I haven't even read into the rule, and I'm like, what the hell is a landing zone violation? Apparently, if the ball is kicked short and somebody on the opposing side crosses the line, again, we're not going to make this into a whole discussion because I think it's a lot of nonsense, but he could be used as a returner. Then again, Gunnar Olszewski and Isaiah McKenzie pretty much have the top two rules in that, and I think Brian Dable said that. As a protector and as a blocker, though, I think that's where he can make his bread. If he's a bigger guy, 6'3", 6'4", he could block guys really good. Protector, blocker, that's where he could make his bread and butter outside of being a 50-50 receiver. Ball hawk in camp and preseason. I think he's got to have a good preseason the rest of the way out. Again, it's a shame that game one he didn't really show up. And the Giants really didn't use the wide receiver core to catch plays and all that sort of stuff. It was mainly Tyree Jackson and Eric Gray. But in preseason, the rest of the two games out, he's got to stand out, especially game three. Game three, I feel like, is going to be big for him because that's like the last week. Everyone's getting their last groove in. And I don't think that the starters are going to play against the Jets. I could be wrong. But he's also got to stand out in one-on-ones. I mean, to be fair, he didn't stand out too much in one-on-ones while I was at the joint practices and the practices overall. So, again, that's another negative. But if they still have these one-on-ones and practices before the game's coming up, and listen, stand out. Do something, right? How can he lose? Health, number one. Not ascending in the depth chart. If he's not making enough plays to ascend in the depth chart, I can't help you. Nobody can help you. You got to help yourself, right? It's really a rotating thing with these wide receivers. I mean, the depth chart, if we're going to reference it real quick, the second team wide receivers are Isaiah Hodgins, Miles Boykin, and Isaiah McKenzie. John Jiles is listed as a fourth receiver. Not even. He's listed as a fifth receiver. Yeah, he's listed as a fifth receiver because you got the third team, which is Dennis Houston, Gunnar Olszewski, and Allen Robinson. The fourth team, which is Ayura Sante, Bryce Ford Wheaton, and I guess they didn't even put a fourth receiver, so whoever made the depth chart is an idiot. But John Jiles is listed as a fifth receiver, so whether it's fourth or fifth, it doesn't matter. He's extremely low on the depth chart, which means you need to make plays. You need to make plays. Poor special teams play, versatility lacks. Again, versatility on special teams, I think that's going to be one of his bigger paths to the roster, even though many don't see him as that. Just, protecting the punter, blocking downfield for the returners. That's a big asset for him, considering, once again, he is 6'4", 6'3", whatever, and he's 205 pounds, which is bigger than some of our receivers. Route running doesn't stand out. That's one thing as well. If his route running does not improve, I mean, I like to think Mike Groh is a good wide receiver coach. And hopefully the Giants do a little bit more to develop his route tree, but at this point, I have no idea. And of course, drops and fumbles will lessen your path to the roster. I do have him getting cut. I don't know if the Giants are going to bring him back on the practice squad. Last year, Deontay Johnson did nothing in the preseason. They brought him on the practice squad. So I think it's down to Asante and Jiles really for a practice squad spot. I just haven't seen a lot. There's more hype to it than there actually is production. But like, comment, subscribe. Turn on post notifications so you know when a live stream pops for you drops. Appreciate you coming back. We will have a podcast episode out 12:30 Saturday, recapping the Lions game, the good, the bad, the ugly, the indifferent, whatever. Peace out, guys. See you later. Stay cool.